guys, it's Miss Leslie and I'm coming to you with the video of these 4 difficult problems that I saw on the Odyssey Web program that I thought would be a good idea for me to work out to make sure that you guys are getting a good handle on slope. This will probably be the last video, guys, unless we need something else that has to do with slope. Okay, so guys, I believe these are where you're taking 2 functions and comparing them. So I want to make sure that we're understanding what it is that we're supposed to be doing. Okay. So I believe the first question on that particular objective goes something like this, where there was someone named Channing who worked 5 hours and earned $42.75. And then you had Tyrell who had the equation E equals 8H. Remember, guys, that I told you that most equations begin with Y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. So in this equation that talks about Tyrell, E is where y is supposed to be, 8 is the slope, h is the x variable, and there's no b variable. So I kind of tried to line them up so that you guys could see that when we're talking about how much money Tyrell makes, he makes approximately $8 per hour. Okay? Then it talked about Channing, how much Channing made. Channing makes $42.75, but he works for 5 hours. So if Tyrell makes $8 per hour, the question is, how much does Channing make? If you take the $42.75 and divide it by the 5 hours, you'll find out how much Channing makes in 1 hour. $42.75 divided by 5 is $8.55. So when it was a question of who made more money, Channing makes more money. Okay, guys, for number 2, I know that we've done something similar like this before, but all you have to do to figure out which function goes with which table is just to guess and check by plugging in your x value to see if you get your y value. So for this particular function, I'm going to plug in everywhere I see x, I'm going to plug in 3, and everywhere I see y, I'm going to plug in 10. And then I want to check to see if it equals. Does 10 equal 5 times 3, which is 15? No, it doesn't. So I'm looking for the x and y values that will match up to the function that I'm given. Okay, guys, I want to talk about number 3. I thought number 3 was interesting because they gave you a function that was in an equation in y equals mx plus b format, function A, and then they gave you this function here that was on a graph. Okay, so guys, when we're going to compare the functions, we want to compare the slopes. The slope in y equals negative 2x is negative 2. Remember, it is always your coefficient of x. We have to actually find the slope in function B by doing rise over run like we did in the other videos that have been made. So guys, remember that slope is a ratio of rise over run, or a fraction of rise over run. And if you can, you need to simplify that fraction. So guys, I copied the line exactly the way that it was on your computer screen to my graph paper. And the first thing I want you guys to notice is that this line is negative. So I'm already knowing that I'm comparing 2 negative slopes, the negative slope from negative 2x and the negative slope from this negative line. So guys, remember that slope is a measurement of rise over run. I made the coordinates nice and dark. Remember, you want to pick 2 coordinates that are easy to find on your coordinate plane. And we rise up and run over to find out what our slope actually is. To get from here to here, I rise up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So the rise part is 12, and then the run part is 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me put my negative sign out in front because it is a negative slope. And then, guys, if possible, you want to make sure that you are simplifying that slope. So when you divide negative 12 by 4, you get negative 3. So when asked which one is bigger, well, this one's bigger. And the last one, guys, I thought this was a tricky question, so I wanted to make sure that we talked about it. You had one equation that was written in word problem format and one that was written on the coordinate plane. And the question asked if Jake worked for his dad and he was promised $50 no matter what. That means that regardless of how much or how little Jake works, he's still going to receive $50. So your equation should be y equals blank, x plus blank. And what he gets initially, the initial value is $50, because he's going to get that regardless of having done any work. But when we talk about slope, well, there's no rate of change. He's going to get $50, and that's all he's going to get. So there actually is no slope. I will put a 0 in for x. So when you go to simplify this equation, y equals 0 times x is 0, and 0 plus 50 is $50. So there is no slope. There's no slope for Jake whatsoever. Then when we looked at Lakeisha's timeline, Lakeisha also has a 0 slope because this line doesn't rise. This line doesn't run. It just stays flat. So guys, when you have a line that goes across the coordinate plane that does not slope upwards or downwards across the coordinate plane, it's also called a 0 slope. So when you're comparing these two slopes, these slopes are exactly the same because Jake's going to get $50, but there's no slope. And there's no slope in Lakeisha's line either. So there's a direct relationship between those two lines because there's no slope here and no slope here. So guys, I thought that there were 4 difficult problems that I wanted to make sure that I showed you in case you had any questions about them. And as always, guys, if you have any questions, you can text me or inbox me. Thanks so much. Bye.